to my video about the true Gothic. Today I'm not making another hair tutorial video for a change. I wanted to make this video because I feel like there's a lot of misunderstanding about the meaning of the word Gothic. If you ask a random person in the street what the Gothic is, they will probably think of people dressing all in black, wearing black lipstick, eyeliner, stuff like that, hanging out in graveyards, whatever. But that is not the true Gothic. It's true that those things can be Gothic, but they are only a small part of a much larger and richer Gothic culture. I think it would be a shame if people only understand this small part of the Gothic as the whole thing. And on top of that, I think within the Gothic or alternative scene, sometimes the view of what is true Gothic and what is not is sometimes also a bit narrow. So the first point I wanted to make is the distinction between the Goth and the Gothic. I think it is necessary and helpful to make a distinction between those two things. Of course they're very similar and they're interlinked, but I feel like the Gothic should be the broad term for the entire culture, and a Goth, referring to a person who is Gothic, is a part of that culture. So when you hear the word Goth, you probably think of a person dressed like this, and Goths are those people who have adopted the Gothic look, probably wear Gothic fashion and put on Gothic makeup, and have an interest in, or general interest in, the Gothic stuff. So it's partly a look and also a mindset / lifestyle, and I think people who are not familiar with the Gothic will at least know what a Goth is. So I don't think that needs much clarification, and this brings us to one of the main points I wanted to make in this video. The Gothic is broader than just the Goth subculture whereby people dress and look Goth. So let me very quickly explain what the Gothic is. It's an extremely broad and rich culture, so it's very hard to just put that in a short video like this one. But the Gothic is also architecture. Do I pronounce that correctly? I'm not sure. Well, buildings, and this style of building is of course centuries old, as is the Gothic art, which originated as a Catholic art, a church art in the I think 12th century, 13th. I'm not an art historian, so I don't know everything. And then we got the Gothic literature. I can't speak English. And this originated in the 19th century, mostly in Great Britain, I believe, but we also have some great French stuff and so forth. My personal first experience with the Gothic was through a Gothic novel talking about Wuthering Heights, which is the greatest novel ever written according to me, but I won't bore you with that right now. Let's move on to the 20th century. You should read Wuthering Heights. A few decades ago we got the Gothic rock or new wave, dark wave, punk. I am not starting a discussion on music genres right now, but I think we can say with certainty that there was a Gothic music genre which also led to the Gothic subculture of people who dress and look Goths, as we still see it today. And so here we are. That, my children, is how we got the Gothic scene. So again, I just explained all this to emphasize that there is a distinction between a Goth, as in a person, and the Gothic, as in the culture. As a person who has an interest in all these aspects of the Gothic, It will not surprise you that I have seen some discussions online. I think unfortunately there is some friction within the Gothic subculture about the meaning of goth and what is goth, what is not goth, and when are you goth enough. And I kind of wanted to say something about that. But I also want to clarify whether or not I am a goth, because you might be wondering that. And here's your answer. No, I don't consider myself a goth because I don't dress goth, look goth. I do have this very deep connection with the Gothic, so in that sense you could say I might be. And I do like this fashion style a lot. I do have Gothic clothing. I do sometimes do my makeup goth. I'm not very skilled at makeup, so it doesn't look that great, but that's beside the point. So to bring up the distinction again, I am not a goth, but I do have a deep interest and connection with the Gothic. And is that a problem? Well, I think not. But you know, the point of all this is that the Gothic is a culture and it is dynamic and there are no borders, and people shouldn't play the border police. Because I have seen this happen online a lot. Luckily nowadays I'm a lot less active on random forums, but I used to be. And you see people judging people and deciding that they know what the true Gothic is and others don't. And that's, by the way, slightly ironic to say for someone who just literally made a video and called it the true Gothic and then went on to explain the true Gothic. I don't mean that I know what the Gothic is and nobody else does, that my truth is the whole truth. No, absolutely not. On the contrary, I think the Gothic is very broad. It is a very big culture that has all these aspects which I mentioned earlier, and it doesn't have these borders. It's not like you have to follow certain rules specifically in order to have your interest in the Gothic validated or in order to call yourself a goth. And I do get it that it is a bit weird if a girl finds black lipstick one day, puts it on and decides to call herself a goth when you know, she doesn't know anything about the Gothic. I mean, just to name an example, that is a bit weird, and you may have your own thoughts about whether that person is truly a goth or not. Same thing goes for people who do have an interest in the Gothic but who do not adapt the Gothic look. Should they be allowed to call themselves goths or not? So as I just said, I personally don't, but if I did, should I be judged for that? Well, I think not. I think you can have your own ideas about what Gothic is, what a true goth is, but you should remember that it is personal for everyone. I think if you believe someone is a poser or not a true goth or doesn't know anything about true Gothic, then you can also decide to keep it for yourself and maybe not judge them. Which brings me to a final point I wanted to make about the true Gothic, and that is that the true Gothic is all about inclusivity and being who you want to be. What is empowering about the Gothic is that people can dress the way they want, can do their hair the way they want. It is about tolerance, I think, and about being yourself. So when you see a person who calls themselves a goth or expresses their interest in Gothic stuff, your first instinct should not be to judge them. The Gothic mindset and interest in Gothic culture are, I think, the main ingredients for anyone who wants to be part of the Gothic subculture. And I don't think you can tell right away if a person has that genuine interest, yes or no. So that's pretty much all I wanted to say about the true Gothic. I hope this was helpful to you and it was fun to watch. I just wanted to emphasize that the Goth subculture, as in the dressing and the fashion, is not all there is to the Gothic. and also that we should not forget that Gothic is also about expressing yourself and being who you are, and not be judgmental. So now I'm going to reread Wuthering Heights, and you should too. And that's it for today. Have a nice day or night under the full moon and stuff. And do not forget to let me hear your opinion in the comments, and maybe like and And do not forget to let me hear your opinion in the comments, and if you like this video, leave a like and maybe subscribe. Bye bye.